Yeah, there's not even so much, there's not even a message, but it's how is this not a teaching, is that you are already what's being looked for. So there's nothing to learn, there's nothing to teach, there's nobody to teach it. It's just already what is. So it's just a sharing is as close you could get to it. In a sharing, I often say in open friendship, um, of that, a suggestion that this is actually what you're looking for. This is what's being looked for, maybe more accurately. Already, life as it already appears to be. A teaching, on the other hand, is somebody who needs to learn something to get somewhere, and it comes from somebody who is already there and knows how to get there. No, there's no such thing as a teacher, and there's no such thing as a guru. um, there is only energy, there's only aliveness, and aliveness, peoples, trees, cars, birds, internets, etc., Canada's, it's that's all there is energy. And in that energy appears to be the sense of being a separate person. In that, in life, say there's life or energy, and in that life there's me and my life, and that's the illusion. And once there is that feeling, that really contracted, energetic, contracted sense of being embodied here and a world outside, then there's a yearning for wholeness, because wholeness appears to have been lost. And this is a suggestion that wholeness has never been lost, because all there is wholeness. All there is this, and that sense of being a really separate individual self is illusory. It's an illusion. It's a story. And this is what's looked for. In the story, there's levels to everything. Yeah, I mean, the story is a progressive move towards better all the time, and there are levels to any aspect of life you want to look at. And it's a fundamental ignorance and arrogance. There is just energy. There's just aliveness. That's all there is. In the illusion of me, there are better me's and worse me's, and I have, because I'm making my life work and I'm at a certain point, there's above me and there's a below me, and I'm trying to get above all the time. Careers, pathways, get ahead all the time, and looking down below. So it's the same way as authority kind of functions. There's an authoritative energy to being an individual, but there is actually no authority whatsoever. But there's levels then to people who are more important and less important than me. And in that play of light, that dualism, I find my story and my wheel of me. Yeah. Yeah, it's a narrative that the me is very seduced by, because that's the way life seems to be for the person. You're born into life, you have a life, you work hard at school, you get a job, blah blah blah. But everything, it's your life, and what you do in it, what is and how hard you work and the choices you make makes your life better or worse. And there's this all the time. You feel like that sense of being a separate person. There's a yearning for something that you can never put your finger on, and you can never actually know. And so someone comes along and says, I see that you feel unworthy. I see that you feel lost. I can show you oneness. I can show you wholeness. And it's very seductive. And it ties in with that model that we've been indoctrinated into and know all our lives, that if I work hard at being a good basketball player, I get very good at basketball and I get onto the team, and then I win competitions and blah, whatever. It doesn't matter what the example is. So if you work hard at meditation, you'll get better, and then you'll get more awareness, and you'll be more in the moment, for instance. And then you'll be more closer to attaining enlightenment, or you'll be more in a state of readiness to not be there, or whatever, then whatever it is. But it's all total nonsense, and all it does is just simply feed that sense of individualism, and feed that sense of a separate person. So the person loves it. It's not right or wrong, it's just what appears to happen. But the person is it's very seductive to the apparent person. Yeah, it is. It's very, and that's the way it is. And it's all a load of bullshit. It has no significance, meaning, anything. It's just what appears to be happening, And then it can be sensed that all of that work and progress and towards something, that the whole thing is just empty and that there's nowhere to get to. And I think there's more of an opening. It feels like there's more of an opening to that now, that there's no authority, there are no levels, there is nowhere to get to. And it's a clear message is kind of resonating then, perhaps a bit more, although it's still confronting to that feels separate. Oh, absolutely nonsense, yeah. And there is no such thing as enlightenment. There's just this. There's no such thing as non-duality. Like enlightenment is a word that points towards something. Most of that term has been imbued with a meaning and a dogma that is just enslaves the individual. If you want to say, you could, at the same time, it's still just a word. Enlightenment is the realization that there is no one, so nobody becomes enlightened. Sorry. So you could say that if you wished. Enlightenment is just the realization that there's just aliveness. There's no separate me, but that realization happens for no one. So nobody then becomes enlightenment. It's impossible. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's just a story. It's just another story in the story of you, of me. Yeah. It's just something the individual appears to do, is to improve themselves all the time. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. Just what appears to happen. Nothing is true. There's just aliveness. That's it. This isn't true. I'm not communicating a truth. There's just only aliveness, and any statement, most of these statements you can be taken any way they're taken. Anyway, they can be interpreted many different ways. 99.99% of them are speaking to an individual that and offering them a pathway to somewhere, to realize something. They're a dogma that simply imprisons the person. That's all. Because there's nowhere to get to. How could you approach how could you get to where you already are? It's nonsense. There's just this. There's just what it is. Yeah, that's there's just energy. So energy Emerson's and energy Kenneth's, and it's all just one energy. It's not knowable. So there's no you or me. From the perception of the separate person, there would be a sense that I'm sitting on this chair and I'm having a conversation with another person who is in another country and blah, blah, blah. That's all a narrative. That's all a story. There's actually just energy voicing, energy clapping, energy computer screening. That's all there is. That's all there ever has been. And it's no thing and everything. As a person, we feel we have this sense of being a separate me. So there's this subject to object thing that happens. So everything I see when I'm a subject is an object. So it's a computer screen, it's Emerson in the computer screen, it's everything around here. It's all an object to me. And in that there's a space between me and it. There's a distance and there's a time, which are two sides of the same coin, for me to get to it. And so in that space and time, things are happening. And in fact, there's nothing happening. This is no thing appearing to happen. So there's just energy. That's all there is. So that's the difference. It's the same. It's the exact same as if there was a sense of a Kenneth here, separate person speaking to a separate person there, except that for the sense of being a person, it's the same, that everything is appearing to happen the same, except that there's an artificial layer over it, or an artificial filter, if you like, or an artificialness over it that makes it a lived reality that I'm separate. It's not an idea or a concept. It really feels that I'm separate. And the suggestion is that that's artificial, that there is only just aliveness. And so it's heard as, it's really a resonance, because the whole thing is just energetic. So it just, when it's not about breaking down, having a concept or understanding. It's not understandable or knowable, but it can just resonate, because it's just, you are already this. So it's just, it somehow just completely resonates. And well, it's heard as it's heard. It can also be very confrontational as well.